to Jeff Koinange live right here at Citizen Television. If you're just joining us, my guest tonight, best political tag team on TV, Barrack Muluka, who's in the house, PLO Lumumba on his way. Terrible, horrific traffic tonight and rains, but he did say he'll make it. So as soon as he comes, he'll join us. In the meantime, let's keep chatting. Barrack, before the break. Oh, by the way, there's something that everyone has been talking about that the president said today, and maybe we're reading too much into this, but maybe you can help us. He said, there is unity, right? We have unity, but not necessarily unity.
Yeah, unanimity is where you not only agree, but you also similar. There's similitude. Unity is as in there's diversity, but within that diversity, there is still oneness, oneness of purpose, that we may have different shades of opinion. Even within the same camp, we disagree, but in the end, we agree to disagree, and all that contributes to the overall collectivity of our agreement. It doesn't mean that we are going to be uniform, that we are mapping bang on, and therefore there is tolerance, there is toleration, and that there is a mutual coexistence of positions. So we are united and not necessarily unanimous. Unanimous where all of us are holding the same opinion. But you know, Jeff, unity can also sometimes be very troubling.
How so?
How so? It depends on the purpose for which you are united. If you and I unite today and we say we are united, we are going to rob a bank, that kind of unity is called conspiracy.
Okay. And this one, the handshake unity, what do you call that? Other than a folder?
We have to wait to see what's going to roll out of the folder, because as I've observed before here this evening, and as I have observed in other contexts and on other platforms, we still don't know. The whole handshake is shrouded in mystery, an element of secrecy. Yes.
Are you worried, Barrack, that there's a lot of concerns coming out that the constitution might be changed or referendum called to create a position, to create a parliamentary system with a prime minister, president? Like
Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, I don't worry. I tell people what they should worry about rather than what I worry about. And I would tell them to get worried. And the reason I don't worry, Jeff, is that I've had a full life, really. At my age now, I've had a full life in this country. But I would worry for future generations that are risking being overloaded with layers upon layers of government. If, for example, tomorrow we agree, and I've seen that there are indications within the legislative forums that we may agree even without questioning that which we are agreeing upon, and we vary the constitution, we create a third layer of government, that which someone has proposed to be called regional governments, then we're going to have a whole new burden that is going to be imposed upon the citizenry, the tax-paying citizens. If you were to come up with the regional clusters that we've heard about, they would perhaps have their own legislative function, that you would have each one of them making laws. It would mean that maybe we are going to elect members of the regional assemblies. And I can assure you and assure the viewers that the MCS through whom this process of constitutional amendment must go before it reaches maturity are not going to accept the abolition of the county assemblies or the smallening of them. So you would have everything as we have intact, and then you would have a new layer of regional government. I think it would be chaotic.
What about prime ministership?
You see, these things which, and I don't agree at all with my brother Francis Atwoli's remarks yesterday, that we should create offices basically because we are worried about so-and-so. Barack Obama retired the other day in his 50s. We had Roosevelt, who retired in his 50s. And we have had many other examples of people elsewhere in the world who have retired when they are young. We shouldn't be in the habit of creating positions basically because we want to address somebody's appetite for power and for the trappings around power, whether it is within the current 5-year jubilee term that we create a premiership which we give to somebody. We should accept such things as participating in elections and losing. And when we lose, we ask ourselves why we lost, and we go out and try to have a go at it again and try to persuade the citizens to vote for us.
But Francis Atwoli doesn't just speak, without really saying, when he wants to say something, he chooses a May 1st celebration, a Labor Day celebration to say something. And yet that was pretty significant. Let's create a post for the retiring president so he doesn't cause any trouble.
Why should a retiring president cause trouble? If a retiring president causes trouble, we should apprehend him and take him before the instruments and forums of law and order and deal with him the way law and order requires. We have seen what has happened in South Korea to a president who was in fact a sitting president, leave alone a retired or retiring president. We have seen what has happened in Brazil. We have seen in South Africa, a sitting president has been removed and is facing justice. We should never live and operate under fear that this individual who has been occupying or wants to occupy this office is going to visit attrition upon us, and on the basis of that, create positions to placate that kind of individual. Look, all of us are going to run riot very soon, and there are going to be 500 prime ministers in this country, if that is the tradition that we would like to set.
Yeah.
So there must be law, and this law must apply equally to everybody across the board without a fear of favor.
Your part of NASA, at least the Wetangula part, calls Raila Odinga a traitor.
They are entitled to doing so because these are optics. They are about perceptions. If you behave towards me in a certain way, I'm entitled to seeing you as a traitor. Mheshimiwa Wetangula has shown me some, what are they called, short text messages that have been sent to him by people within ODM, and which started being sent before he was removed from that office. And these people were clearly saying that Baba had told them that they should remove him. There are people who are being urged to go and sign the memorandum of removal. If we are together with you on a mission, we have agreed on certain things, and behind my back you go and start doing things that are contrary to that which we have agreed, I think you need to cut me a slack if I start looking at you with different eyes and start suggesting that you are no longer to be trusted. And if we are working together and you are no longer to be trusted, among other things, the idiom of treachery applies.
Does your party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, does he also feel betrayed?
These politics, as they have unfolded right from August up to where we are, someone may not tell me that they specifically believe that they have been betrayed, but it is possible that somewhere quietly in their private life, in their quiet moments, they consider that they have been betrayed. I sat here in this very position where I am on Wednesday, the 7th day of March this year, and I told you and I told viewers, about what was happening within NASA. You remember PLO was seated here
and
when he was using the imagery of the crocodile and saying if crocodile comes from the river and tells you that somebody is sick, maybe the shark or whoever is sick, then someone must be sick. And the things which I said here, on the 7th day of March this year, they began unfolding 2 days later on the 9th day of March. There were other doubting Thomases out there. I'm not the only doubting Thomas. They were there. They went for me, tongs and hammer in the social media. As usual, I ignored them with the contempt that they deserved. And a few days later, they started saying, oh, this man was saying something that he seems to have understood. So, if people are going to feel that they are betrayed, they will be justified. I can't be working with you, and you have been invited somewhere, and you don't tell me when at the same time certain overtures have been made to me, and I have disclosed it to you, but you sneak behind my back, you go and shake somebody's hand, and you want to generate heroism out of that, and you go on to say, oh, forget about these ones. We have seen James Orengo going to Luanda Dudi to bury Justice who passed on a few weeks ago, and he was calling people monkeys, and you're saying there were monkeys in NASA, and there were monkeys in Jubilee, and he was saying they were not to be trusted. And I listen to people who, for instance, we are well aware that there are efforts to find a fusion of purpose between Ford Kenya and ANC, and which are national political parties, but which has been reduced to one formula by the reductionists, which they are calling Luya Unity. And I think the Luya need not apologize to anyone, anyway, if they wanted even to look at this thing as a Luya Unity. But the same people who go to Kakamega to tell the people of Kakamega what is this thing about Luya Unity, they cross the River Yala and get to the other side, and they start saying, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Again. Yeah? You're saying we are ourselves, we are ourselves, they are themselves, and we are one tribe. Yeah? But you don't want anybody else to think along the same lines. It's treachery.
And you feel left out of this equation, don't you? I mean, obviously, Mudavadi, Wetangula, and of course Kalonzo, you're out of the tent. You are outside. They are your people. You're outside the tent.
Jeff, I cannot feel left out of something that I don't understand. Okay? This thing, and I think that we in the media, and I use we deliberately because, as you are aware, I'm a journalist by training, examination, qualification, engagement, reward, and all that. I'm a journalist.
Yes.
And we journalists need to be a little more serious than we have been. When a man goes to see another man and is accompanied by his daughter, and the other man is accompanied by his nephew, and we don't know what they have been discussing, it could be anything. It could be a marriage. Indeed, in the most literal sense of the interpretation of the notion of marriage. If it is a reconciliation between two adversaries who have got a historical background of not just being rivals or competitors or adversaries, but whose adversarial tendencies sometimes begin gravitating towards the hostile and the inimical. If one day they decide that they want to come together to make friendship, amity, they must be allowed to do so. If they want to do a handshake, they must be allowed to shake hands. If they want to embrace one another, they must be allowed to embrace one another. If they decide to go further and even kiss, they are allowed to kiss. And if they wanted to do a little more than that, they must be allowed to to do so. If they decide that this is the team that is going to bring us together, they must be allowed. But you cannot call that national dialogue. And those who are outside that orbit would do something wrong to start begrudging you your unity or your search for that unity or even unanimity, if we may borrow from President Kenyatta. But after that, we expect then the national conversation will begin.
Tell me something, Barrack. When's the last time Raila Odinga spoke to Musalia Mudavadi? When's the last time?
I don't know. They may have spoken this morning. You see, the question you ask me is an empirical question.
Okay, when's the last time you heard then? Did you hear Musalia telling you, look, Barrack, guess who called me today? You won't believe who called me today.
A few days ago, about slightly over a week ago, when there was a burial in a place called Shinyalu. You remember mother to the member for Shinyalu, Kizito Mugali, passed on, and she was buried in Shinyalu, and the two met. They sat side by side, and later on that evening, through a coincidence of circumstances, they met at a hotel somewhere in Kisumu, and they just talked shop. That's what I'm aware of.
They talked shop?
Yes, they talked shop.
So, as far as you're concerned, NASA is still intact?
NASA is an institution that we would call a legal entity. It's not just a formation or a grouping of individuals who have come together. It is a legal entity that is recognized by legal instruments of this country. It is registered with the registrar of political parties.
Right.
It is recognized by the institution of parliament. There are legislators on the NASA platform, and we cannot wish NASA away.
Okay, let me put it in another way. In yesterday's speech by Raila Odinga at Labor Day, he forgave the 4 companies he had called a boycott on: Safaricom, Bidco, Brookside, one other. He forgave. Had he consulted the rest of NASA to say, hey, man, we're practically in the tent now, let's forgive these guys? Did he consult?
As Secretary General of a political party within the NASA fraternity, I'm aware that there has been no consultation, but then that is within that particular individual's way of doing things. He doesn't consult. When he left us waiting for him, snookered us and went to the park alone to be sworn in, when the understanding was that we would all assemble and go to the park to explain to the country and the world why he should not be sworn in, he did not consult. When he went to do the handshake, he did not consult. When he vacated the presidential race, and you have heard Mheshimiwa Wetangula say he did not make adequate consultation. And therefore, when things such as this, in fact, even when he made those declarations that he was placing an embargo on certain specific institutions, because the meeting which I attended where that resolution was made did not name names. But when names were being named, he did not consult. When he met people from Bidco, he did not consult. And so when he goes and pretends, and I use the word pretends deliberately, to lift an embargo that is not there, because that thing fizzled out like oil in a hot frying pan within days. In fact, people have not been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so you are digging up something that is non-existent. I was with Mheshimiwa Wetangula this morning, and who went on to say, how can you lift an embargo that is not there.
Barrack, I remember the last time you were here and you mentioned the date, March the 7th. You were seething then. And what you did say, a lot of it came to pass.
Yes.
You're still angry.
I was not angry. Jeff, you should see me when I'm in my element. Ask the people who have seen me when I'm angry. As Ronald Reagan used to say, you ain't seen nothing yet. So I was not angry.
Yeah.
I'm not angry. Yeah, I'm just expressive.
And disappointed.
I need to get a little bit disappointed because we believed we were on a mission to Canaan, and it did not happen. That one, all of us were disappointed, and I believe that I speak for very many out there. There were little kids who used to cry and say, I want to go to Canaan, I want to go to Canaan. And when they heard that the mission had aborted, they were upset. And you know, when a mission aborts, what you do is you regroup and you do a review, you debrief, you establish why the mission aborted. But if you start going different directions, some people go and do handshakes and they come and they start using such metaphors as I went out on a hunting mission. Baba alienda kuinda, you tell Bone Khalwade that I went out to hunt, and this child is asking, where did Baba go? I think you are holding other people in contempt. And Jeff, I would fail. It would be remiss for me to come here on national TV and fail to make these kinds of observations, because within those kinds of actions is sown the seed of autocracy. Autocracy springs out of the bed of belief that you know everything, that you are always right, like Comrade Napoleon. You are always right and everybody else must follow you. And it worries, or it ought to worry us, where we start seeing people who are saying, if Baba says jump, we jump. If Baba says dive, we dive. If Papa says go up the tree, we go up the tree. If he says climb down, we climb down. And when I've sat in forums such as this one, and I have used the word zombification, there are some fellows out there who have gotten angry with me, but I don't mind them, because such is their Stockholm syndrome, where the victims love the victimizer, the villain. If we start behaving like that, that we cannot interrogate our leaders, their actions, their words, their deeds, then we are incubating what Miguna would call despotism. You saw him at the airport. He was talking about the despots.
When he said, I'm not boarding. Yeah.
The despots are afraid of me.
But Barrack, look, I'll ask you this after the break. You knew this getting into NASA. You knew this. Why are you crying when the milk has spilt? You were there.
You know, one day, the frog wanted to cross the stream. And the crab told the frog, get on my back.
I thought it was a scorpion, but you got
okay. The one which you saw was the scorpion. But this particular one
was a crab.
Was the crab. But let us go with your scorpion one. Yeah, so the scorpion said, sit on my back. I'll take you across. And frog said, I know you. You are going to sting me. And the scorpion said, no, I have turned a new leaf. Just get on my back and let us go. When they got in the middle of the stream, a frog was stung. So you need to be stung and stung again.
Yeah.
And then you'll take lessons.
But you didn't finish the story, because the frog turned to the scorpion and said, why have you done this to me? I thought you said you turned a new leaf.
Yes.
And the scorpion turned around and said, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Come back.
I see you went to good schools.
Finally, you admit. Keep tweeting at Barrack M, at Kunanga Jeff, hashtag JK Live. We're going to find out where PLO Lumumba is, because this conversation is literally just warming up. Has he told you? Has he tweeted you?
I need to.
Let's just find out. Take a break. Come back. Plenty more ahead. Jeff Kunanga Live. We'll be back in a moment. In a moment.